is Adlyke, and I'm passionate about educating, informing, and sharing information with migrants and aspiring migrants about how to better transition into their new countries. So basically, I am located in Western Australia. I migrated to this country about 5 to 6 years ago. I came in as an international student, and there are things definitely I wish if I knew before, I probably have an easier transition. So I'm out here for you guys, and today's video is going to be on things I wish I knew before migrating to Australia. So my first point rather is I wish I learned how to drive. So I had the assumption that, of course, I'm coming to a developed country, so of course the transportation is top notch and very efficient. But what I found out is that in Australia, specifically in Western Australia, Perth for that matter, if I had to travel to different places, especially outside the city, it took me quite a long time. So I'm talking about a distance that could take me 40 minutes in a car. Then it would, if I choose the transport, which is the bus, it would go for about 1 hour to 1.5 hours. So if you're a student, of course, you need to really manage your time because you're working and studying at the same time. So I would say, of course, learn how to drive. It's essential, and the good news is that for most countries, you're allowed to use your driver's license in Australia. So that's a good thing. Okay. The second thing is that, of course, I wish I made a comparison of the school fees with different universities. So I particularly wanted to come to Perth, and I'll talk about that later on. That's a story for another day. But the thing is, the school fees in the different universities here charge a whole different sort of school fees. So sometimes you could find a difference of up to 5,000 difference. So I would say, if you're looking to save money like me, I would recommend that you actually make a comparison of the course you're doing, how much school fees are they charging, and why is this school fees higher than this. So make that comparison, and that will go a long way to save you some coins. Okay. The other aspect, so I'm looking down, guys, because I've written this, I don't want to forget anything. The other aspect is, of course, look for a job. So I would say is important that, of course, as I said, I found the living expenditure to be quite costly. So looking for a job before even coming into the country will be very important to ensure that you don't have to waste a lot of time looking for a job, and yet the bills are still counting. You still need to pay your bills. So some of the websites that you could use are seek.com, Indeed.com, Gumtree. I'm going to leave the link for all these different sites on the comment, on the description. And so I particularly like Gumtree because these are just specific individuals posting jobs, such as mostly student-friendly jobs, such as retail jobs, cleaner, childcare worker, and you can actually communicate to these people and tell them that you're still in your country and you'll be arriving on this and this day and you're ready to start, and that would really help you to probably just starting almost instantly once you arrive into the country. The other aspect I would say is bring your essentials. So I didn't know that you could actually bring some of the things or your goodies that you love from your country to Australia. So this, for me, for example, I love my Kenyan spices. I love my Royco curry powder and the braids, extensions. There are African shops, there are Indian shops, and there are Asian shops, of course. Almost all other countries, there are shops that cater for those kind of goods that are specific to their country, but sometimes they could be up to 10 times more expensive. So bringing them, of course, with you, and ensuring that, of course, with the declaration form that you're given before arriving, make sure to declare. So if you brought food, please don't take no when you know you have food, because that would, of course, you could get fined, or sometimes even your goods could be confiscated. So just declare. It's very easy. As long as they're well labeled, they're always passed through. For me, I never had an issue at all. The other thing is, of course, the living expenditure. So a single room in Australia, speaking from my surrounding, pretty much goes for about 200 to 250 Australian USD. So I would say, sorry, Australian dollars. So a single room goes for about 200 to 250 Australian dollars. However, what I found out is that as a student, you could actually live into a shared accommodation. This is basically whereby you have you have to share the common places. That's the kitchen or the bathroom or the laundry area, but you have your own room, and this is quite cost friendly, so it would really save you. So we're looking at a single room, and you could get a master insert, that way you don't have to share the bathroom, and that would go for about depending of course on the surrounding, that will go for about 100 to 150 Australian dollars, so which is quite a bargain. The other thing I would say is that when you arrive, there are some aspects that you need to prepare. So for example, there's some things that you need to have with you in hand. So on their arrival, grab a SIM card. I know it sounds like no-brainer, of course. When you're in a new country, you need to grab a SIM card. But for me, I don't know why I didn't grab a SIM card, and that made everything so hard for me, especially moving back and forth. So getting a SIM card initially will help you to communicate better to your employers. If you applied for a job, people can easily get in touch with you, as well as during your travel back and forth, you're able to use Google Maps and you don't have to get lost for hours like I did. The other aspect is, of course, in Australia, for you to be working, you need a tax file number, and this can take a while to come through. So apply for your tax file number. I'm also gonna leave a link for that, because no employer is gonna employ you without that. The other aspect is the police clearance check. This is sort of a character check that ensures, of course, you're of good character to work in a particular place. So apply for that also. It takes about 2 weeks, so on your arrival, so just apply that, as well as some jobs will also require you to have a work with children check. So if you're working in childcare or library or etc. So I'll leave all the links to those particular websites and sites whereby you can apply those items below. Lastly, and probably the most important aspect that most international students forget to do, is to have fun. College days move on so fast, and having fun is not only good for your sort of social well-being, but as well as your mental. So a lot of students, especially international students, lock themselves up to people of the same color as them, or race or country. But what I would say is that please get yourself out there. You don't necessarily have to interact with Kenyans just because you're from Kenya, but because here the power of networking is so significant. So get yourself out there, go for events. Most universities in Australia have weekly events, end of weekly parties, end of exam parties, color run. You can play different sports. So make a deliberate intention to actually get yourself out there, because if you're all about just studies and working, a lot of students really go through a lot of mental issues. So you could easily get into depression, anxiety, and all these other things, because basically the whole experience of being away from family and friends and the environment that you're used to is quite daunting for every one of us. So I would say kindly make sure to have fun, make sure to make friends, make sure to get out there and enjoy Australia, which is a pretty lovely country. So on that note, thank you so much for watching today. Stay tuned, there's a lot more interesting aspects going on. I'll be covering, of course, the different ways to migrate to Australia. Of course, I know not everybody is looking to study. I'll also be talking on different places that you could actually visit in Australia on a budget. So yeah, this is going to be quite interesting. So if you love this, kindly subscribe and like, and thank you so much. Love you. Mwah.